And we're live.
Hello and welcome to another live demonstration. I've been trying to think of things to paint and I really wanted to paint some colour because the days are quite grey at the moment. So I was looking on the internet and I came across these umbrella covered streets. And this is an image from a source for free copyright images. But I was actually very surprised to know that they even do it in the UK. I know they do it in places like Brazil, which helps shade areas, but apparently they also do it in the UK. So that is going to be my mission this summer, is to try and find a umbrella covered street using the artisan water-mixable oils. I'm sure if you've watched the demonstration before, you'll know why I choose to use water-mixable oils, because I'm intolerant to the solvents. And you can mix and clean with water. So this is quite a complex image, which is why I've pre-drawn it. And I'm going to start with all the background colours. Now I've got the set of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you know I usually use red, yellow, blue, but for this occasion, because there's a lot of colours and I don't want you to be there for 4 hours, I'm actually going to be using all the colours today. But a set like this, a good basic set, is quite nice because you have a cool yellow, a warm yellow, a cool red, a warm red, cool blue, warm blue, ochre and burnt sienna. All really useful colours, great for mixing. And you'll see also I've dotted bits of white around my palette, and I will explain why I've done that, mostly because I'm pretty messy and I will contaminate the white. So let's start with the sky. That was just a little bit of the blue, and you can see that's, for me, is a bit too blue. I'm going to use all of that. So different to watercolour, you do find you do need to mix plenty of colour, because mixing again is not so easy to do. Mixing that, because I want a flat sky. In the original it's a really bright blue sky, but also the building's blue here, so I want to create some differences. So just put on, I've got quite a loaded brush. This is canvas. It's the SAA practice canvas, triple primed, the same as you'd get in a stretch canvas, but in sheets or in a pad. And I use this often because it allows me to store. Doesn't mean that I can't either frame, glue this to a board, or even put onto, they're called stretchers, in order to display it or sell it. But initially, for a lot of the work I'm doing, if I'm not preparing it for sale, like demonstrations, I will do it on this stretch canvas. Great for practice, great for deciding on composition without the big expense of using a stretch canvas. For me, a stretch canvas is kind of the final piece. You know, when you've got a good piece of watercolour paper, it's the same, and you're going to do a finished piece. It's the same with, for me, a stretch canvas. So this is why I use this. Sky done. Like I say, it is quite a clear sky. Using water to clean the brush. Now, I'm going to really get into the ferrules. I'm going to be using blue again, so this brush is fine, but you do have to really clean brushes because you'll find I probably will contaminate the next colour, but let's have a go. So this is the different blue. What blue is that? Cerulean. I did think it was cerulean, ultramarine and cerulean. Just make another blue for this building here. And you can see that's a much greener blue. Hopefully it will not creating enough distinction yet. So more blue. Right, let's go round. I'm going to paint over the lines I've put on. They were used as a guide, a lot for positioning, but it doesn't mean I've not got the original in front of me. So gone over the end of the umbrella there and over the umbrella handle, because I can use the original to guide. Oh, didn't need to go in there. To guide where, it's actually there. Guide where I'm going to put those final details on again. I've gone a bit too far. So here I'm going to remind myself where this blue building is. It doesn't matter, I've gone into here. That is the beauty of oils. Oils you can go over. You can blend, you can adapt, you can manipulate. And with oils you can keep working without the fear of the paint drying. Now I'm working in an alla prima style, so all in one. This painting will get done in one go. So oil painting rules, even though these are water mixable, they are the same. Fat over lean, thin over thick, slow drying over fast drying. All those rules which you really need to know if you're doing a lot of layers. But when you're doing all in one and you've not got many layers, you don't need to overly worry about that.
Anita?
Yes?
I have a question. Amy's asking about your brushes.
The brushes, these are the SAA all-in acrylic brushes. Good. That's actually a good question, because that reminds me about brushes for the water-mixable oils. So these are a synthetic brush, and traditionally with oils, which always keep reminding yourself that the water-mixable oils are oils. People get sidetracked by the water bit of them. With traditional oils, they use bristle hog brush hair, which is that spiky, quite stiff. You can use any brush with oils. The only thing I would suggest is if you've used it for oils, don't go back. Don't use it then for watercolour, because the chances are, no matter how well you clean, it's going to be contaminated. So these are synthetic, and I find these better for water mixable oils because of the water. So with traditional oils, solvent is used, and the hog brushes are perfect with the solvent. They have a good long life. But if you use those hog brushes with a lot of water, the hair on the hog brush does tend to split and tends to have a much shorter life. Whereas these synthetic brushes, using with water mixable oils, because even though they're an oil, I'm not using solvent, I'm using water. Therefore, these are really suitable for actually being cleaned and mixed with water, much more than the hog. So after a while, if you did use them in the same way with a hog brush, they will get brittle and split. So these are synthetic, long handle, because many oil brushes are. In fact, all oil brushes pretty much are, but perfectly suitable for oils and acrylics. But I like they kind of got a bit of spring in them, but it's that finer hair rather than that stiffer bristle of the hog. So thank you for that. And that's actually a really useful question, because I might have forgotten to explain the brushes. Right, I'm going to go on to this next wall. It's going to be a grey colour, so a bit of blue and a bit of brown. That's beautiful. There you go. Exactly what I want. And I'm not going to mix it fully. I'm going to keep it with a bit of hit and miss of the colours I get, because these walls here are quite marbly, a lot more white. See how little colour you actually need? A bit of yellow in there as well. That's better. Just plotting, blocking colour. Sometimes it's good just to get at least a base layer on, because what it does is it makes the next layer glide. So sometimes I may have covered the whole area with a base layer of colour, just so it goes on smoothly. While it's neat at the moment, I'm having to push it and move it on to the canvas. So here, the blue went a bit too far, but it looked easily fixed and gone. So that building is different from this blue one. Not thinking about detail yet. It doesn't even matter totally if the colours are a little off. This all can be fixed, can be altered. Going over that handle, because I can put that back a bit more yellow. You can see why I have the white in different areas, because I do tend to mix it up a little. So I've got quite a big wodge of colour on there, so let's just get it off. Okay. Now, there's a bit of that dark. So there's an edge of a building here. This is all me just thinking, just plotting. I can put it in to later date, but I might as well do it as I go along, which is slightly darker. That's good. And then there's another, make that slightly browner instead of blue. Yeah. And that goes up to, there's a window there, there's a funny ledge here. A bit more brown. Sometimes I won't even mix a colour on the palette. I will just put it on. Okay, like that. That's one way of cleaning your brush as well and getting it decontaminated, is think about where you're going and just unload all this pigment. Right, along here.
Anita?
Yes?
We don't often do shout-outs, we do this sometimes, but Paolo's watching on the bus on his way to
Wow.
work, so.
Well, hello, Paolo, and thank you for watching. That is dedication on the bus. I hope I don't say anything that makes you laugh out loud. It's always embarrassing when you do that. But thank you for watching. I appreciate it. You can do shout-outs. Means I'll probably forget what I'm doing, but... Okay. I love this oil, just be able to mix and keep adding. And you can see my brush has colour on it and it keeps changing. For me, that's really fun, because I don't need to worry about the colour. Just happened. Push push that up to there. Oh. There's a shadow. Right, warm shadow. Using the shape of the brush to use on the edge, you can see there, use the edge. That's much easier to slide now. Now there's a layer of colour, it just glides on that surface. So it goes across there, it's darker, there's a door, and this edge is going to be lighter. So when I'm doing light, I prefer it to be much more creamy as opposed to white. Sometimes white works, but I think because this is a sunlit area and the sun's that yellow, I think a yellow, creamy white works better. And here, I probably won't have time for all the nuances of colour, but just get colour on. See how long this is taking, but once that's all on, I'm going to be able to see where I want to move on from there. There's a windowsill under here, I just need to remember that it's here. Windowsill. And that goes back that way. You can also, like you would do with a watercolour, use the texture of the paper, texture of the canvas. You don't have to fill it in to be totally smooth, and that's what I'm going to do over here. Right, let's put some colour on this side, unloading my brush. Bit of ochre. Give that a straightish edge because it is a wall. And I want to just show that these are on a narrow street. Okay. Unload my brush because time for the painting knife. So these all have stucco on them and they're not even. And it's probably been put on with a trowel of some sort in a very similar way. So why not paint it with a similar tool? Pick up whatever is on here. Bit of white. Look at those textures. Push what I've got on there around. I haven't gone up to this umbrella there. Look at that. I just really love something that works really quickly, and using a painting knife does for this kind of textured wall. It's also got a bit of a hole where the plaster's come off. I'm not going to totally describe it, I'm just going to suggest that's got a different kind of texture. I might come back to it, I'll see how far I get. Right, let's pick up some blue. What I might risk is, if I'm not careful, is overdoing it and losing some of these fabulous textures. But let's just see how far I get. Again, use that edge. Bring out the wall detail. This is a bit flat up here. Let's see what I can do. Bit of yellow. That's better. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to. Oh, that's nice. Look at that. I think I might do that down here a bit. The light's quite flat in the original, so I'm having to just think about how much light do I want to bring. Plus I don't want to make that the full feature. The features are the umbrellas. Okay, so had fun with that. Let's go down to a smaller brush. That's too small. A smaller flat will do. I've probably not cleaned it fully. You can tell I've a bit yellow on there. That's why I was just brushing the hairs. It was gone a bit stiff. When you're cleaning brushes, especially these, you do really have to push them into your hand like this. I use a artist soap, so a brush cleaner, because it really does clean the brushes right up to the ferrule. So watercolour brushes you can give a good rinse, but when you then clean them with a brush cleaner, one that's dedicated for cleaning brushes and conditioning, you'll still see lots more pigment comes out. I always still now find it a surprise how much pigment actually comes out, even though you think you've cleaned your brushes. So a good swirl is okay, but it doesn't fully clean your brushes. So I will, at the end of a watercolour session, definitely clean my brushes with a good brush cleaner. But maybe not quite as much with a hog oils, like I explained earlier, because the hog doesn't like water, but these are acrylic, synthetic, so you can clean them with water. Really take care of your brushes, and they should last a long time. This is I think it's a shutter. Right. Like I say, I don't want these to be key features. I'm just going to possibly blend them in a bit more. Pick up that blue and not even, like I would a watercolour, I've not even filled the whole of the canvas. This door here, again, mostly dark, so I use some of the ultramarine and a bit of the brown. Not sticking to the lines, I know. Dark along there, so that's straightened that from the line I had. Again, I can put it on and softly bring it in. I think there's a lot of blue in this painting. So this door's blue as well. Just dab it on. It's in shadow. make sure that edge is dark. And there's a suggestion of a door there. I need to push this back. Okay, right. So let's just, with this brush, bring some of the detail down using the edge. And here is dark again. Very dark there. So when I've got a colour on my brush, I will tend to jump around a little bit. So that's a nice dark colour. Let's use it. The edges here. Oops. Probably a bit too much there. I just want to soft focus it a little bit. And there's an edge along here. Adding detail without adding detail as such. I mean, it's a building, it was a little flat. I may find time to put the flower vegetation in, but maybe not. So you can see how just a few touches, a few marks, takes it from a very flat, unfinished painting to having a little bit more interest. This is dark. I've not got my darkest colour done yet. It's because I've got white on the brush. So to get a black, I'm going to throw a bit of everything at it. Right. It's much darker. Okay. Gives that a little bit more. Same here. Bring those windows back, which I have inadvertently gone over. Right. Along here, what's happening here? This window. Straighten that up. And an ochre edge to the windowsill. But this is why I like a flat brush, because I can get detail using the edge as well as putting on colour quite quickly. Okay. I'm going to move on to the colours. Now I've got two of these same size brushes. The reason being is it is actually quite difficult sometimes to fully clean a brush, just painting like this. And I'm going to be using the light colours. So I want the pure yellow. And with a contaminated brush, the colours will come through. So reddy, more orangey, purpley, yellow. Yellow. On this one, yellow, yellow-green, and yellow next to the orange. it is now.
Are you making it up, Anita?
Yeah, a little. It's. I don't think they're exactly the same. And well, who's seeing it? Who's standing there and knowing what I'm looking at? Yellow. No yellow. You've got, is that one yellow? Was that one yellow? Let's go for this one. And, oh, yellowy green. So you could be that one. And that one. It will do, it's fine. So that's a nice clean colour. Orange. Now I could add a little bit of red and make that a little bit more orange, but I quite like, I would say that's a cadmium colour, that warmer, yeah, cadmium yellow, that warmer yellow. So without having to mix, I can put it on. That one. Not thinking about creating the light yet. That will come another time. Like I say, the beautiful thing about oils is you can go back in. Right. Where does this one go? I'll put it here because it's not quite the same. I think they are slightly different. And no yellow orange on that one. Done. Next one. So what I'm doing is using that original colour, adding a bit of red to it and creating a new colour. You'll see I'm not filling them in completely. I can do that. Once I've got the colour on, the pigment will move. But I'm also helping prevent cross-contamination of colours by just leaving a little gap around. It's the way I found works. Doesn't mean if it's right or wrong, but it is a way that I have found works for me, because I do tend to cross-contaminate the colours a little bit. And you can also see the beauty of the flat brush there. Just put it on. That everyone done? Yes. Right, straight in to the red. And the neater the colours, the brighter I find that they are. So, a bit of red there. I think it comes up here. Okay. Let's do you this colour. It's a cadmium, I would think. A little bit there. Let's put it here. And just one. So this seems to have a lot more reds than the others. Orange, let's do the red here. Okay. Right, ready purple, that will be the alizarin. Okay. No colour mixing, just being able to put the neat colour on. They're looking quite bright already, aren't they, Gary?
They are indeed.
And you can make them your own colours, you don't have to follow the colours you're seeing here. I just wanted to do something with a bit of colour. Okay. Right, see how clean I can get this into the blue. So, I think it's a purple, but much more of a blue purple. Okay. Too dark, so. No, it's too dull. Too dull. Let's see what happens if I just add water. Because I haven't been mixing as such with water. Now, adding water, same with an acrylic, to be honest. It would totally depend on the surface you're using. So it's usually not recommended to add more than 50% water. And that's because by adding a lot of water, you're losing the binding in the paint. It's being diluted. Now, that totally depends on the surface. So on a canvas, I would say be careful with the amount of water you use. Again, it depends on your layers because it will crack over time or it may flake. But to be honest, I've never found that to be an issue. But there are other ways of diluting your paint without adding water. Like I said, this one has more reds, but I'm going to put the blue there. Might have to find a new unused colour. Right, now we're starting to get into the blues on this one. So you can see I've added the water and I'm made it flow a little bit easier. If you are worried about the colours binding, use a medium. So it's not necessarily you need to paint with a medium, but by adding a medium to your oil paint, you can then make it flow easier without diluting. So the medium is often, a paint medium will be linseed oil and a bit of solvent or linseed oil. Now adding a medium for this kind of painting, which is alla prima all in one, it's not a big deal. Thinking about the fat over lean, but if you're doing lots of layers, then a medium should be added in the last layers. The reason for that is you take the oil paint straight from the tube as the neutral. I usually say the middle. So to thin the paint or make it lean, you add either solvent or water in this case. So lower layers, or as I've done, neat layers. Then if you add a medium, you're actually adding more fat. You're adding more linseed oil. So that then becomes a fatter layer. So they need to be on the top layers. It's mostly for when you're doing a lot of layering, not this kind of painting technique. It's just something to consider. Adding medium is making your paint fat. So if you've heard about these rules and you don't understand them, don't get over concerned with them in the first place, unless you're doing that very thin, lots of glazing, lot of layers, then that's something you should consider. But this, put it on in one go kind of painting, it's not a big issue. Right, now for the cerulean blue. This is that cooler, more green. Blue. Need a bit more. Yes, that do. Okay, so this one can go here. Ooh, what have I happened? Oh, because that's going this way here. Did I miss that one? I did, didn't I? Oh, knew I would. That one on. And that one. Colour's still on the palette, so I can go back to it. And a bit of blue there. What colour did I miss? This one. Also, I do find my brush gets quite wet every time I clean it. So, again, you've got to make sure, it depends how you want to work, but make sure you dry it off so you're not getting your paint very wet. But like I say, I've used it in lots of different ways and it's not been a big issue. Cerulean. That one. I knew I'd missed one somewhere. Right. Shouldn't be now getting onto greens. And yes, I can mix greens, and I may do. But look, I've got a beautiful, what colour is it? Phthalo green. I thought it was because it's quite dark. Why not use that? So that's a yellow green. Going this way. So let's use that phthalo green there. Dark green. It's already prepared for me. And sometimes greens don't look very natural for plant life, but these aren't plants. These are dye-based fabrics. Therefore, the neat greens are perfect. Yeah. Green. Green. Yellow green. Right. I'll put it there. Have I done my greens yet? So next colour is another green, but it's a little more yellow, so a bit of the yellow into the phthalo green. How come I've got a lot more on this one? Don't matter, I'll sort that. Yellowy green. Again here. That's a beautiful green. It's like a lime green colour.
Anita?
Yes.
Christina was asking in the chat, well, she was asking about mediums, but you answered that before she'd actually asked the question. But about gesso surface, because you're on a is it pre-primed?
It is pre-primed, it's triple primed. It's the same as you would get on a stretch canvas.
But you could work on top of gesso.
You could, sorry, just looking. Can I put my green down and then I will have full attention? Okay. Yes. So most canvases you get nowadays are already pre-primed. Some cheaper ones may be double primed, whereas other ones are triple primed. Doesn't mean you may want to put another layer of gesso, especially for oils. So you may have heard about sinking or where your colours get dull, and that could be due to the surface not being fully primed enough for oils. So it doesn't hurt to put more layers of gesso on, but it's not usually necessary. Especially for an acrylic, it's not necessary because acrylic will go on. And nowadays, canvases are primed with an acrylic gesso, or technically it's not a gesso, it's a primer, because gesso was used rabbit size as initial and different ways it was made. So most canvases now are acrylic based, water based acrylic. You very rarely find an oil based primer. I forgot what I was saying, sorry, I'm trying to remember my colours. But yeah, you can just paint straight on, that's what I'm doing. But if you have had your colours sinking in before, then there's no problem adding more layers of gesso. Okay. How come I've got lots left on this one? Because I haven't done this one yet, or that one. Okay.
You can blame me.
Yeah, it's fine. I can get there. Because I'm not mixing a lot of different colours, I'm mixing the green and the yellow, I can kind of go back. Okay. I do have a lot more spaces left than I thought I would have, but there we go. So.
I think on the one top left,
Yeah.
you've missed a darker shade of, I think that green that you put on the right hand side.
That green.
The lighter green.
That one.
Next to it, yeah. That should be one to the left, I think. There should be a darker green there.
Well, let's fix it. I can fix that. That's easy. So, I mean, if I wasn't painting live or rushing it, I probably would have written the colours on them, to be honest. So this very yellow green needs to move over one. So I'll move you over. And then you need to be Oh, is that one too? Is that enough? No. So another thing about oil paints is you don't really waste any because they don't dry. They don't dry overnight or in an hour. So what you could do is you can use palettes where you can put a lid on. And just store them. If you've mixed up a colour that you like and you've mixed up too much, you can put them in a glass jar. Let's just do this. It's fixed it. Okay. And you'll see I'm putting a little bit out at a time because then I can keep adding to it rather than taking away. Right, so I'm going to go yellow with a tiny touch of green. It's mainly yellow. Not going to be. I don't like that, so I'm going to change the yellow I'm using. I just want a different colour. And some white. That will do. That's a different colour. It's not a nice colour, but it'll do. Go. What colour's there? I don't know, I'll make it up. That's this colour there. And this is this light green here, so that's come up there. Phew, that one worked. That's done. This light green there. So this is a middish green, which comes underneath and on top there. Let's make this a bit lighter. Go. That's done. Good. That's near enough. So like I said, I've left gaps around, and that is because I want to, I can push the paint and smooth it out. Don't mind going into the other one, but I have control now. So now I can blend a little bit. This is the beauty of oils. If it had been acrylic, I would still be struggling. It would have dried, then I'd have to put another layer on. I think I've done quite well. I expected this one to be a little longer because there's quite a lot of detail. Click water, damp brush, and let's just get some blending. Because even though I don't mind it being a little bit loose, I do actually want the shape of the umbrella to be cleaner. And you'll notice I started with the red. No reason for that, but I'm also continuing with the red as I go round. So this alizarin, I've got a little bit on my brush, but what it's doing is it's allowing me to create shadows. This is using colours which are next to each other on the colour chart. And just keeping that nice colours, that so the shadow is created by the orange. Okay, I think I probably can go into here as well. Look at that. That's why I didn't go up to the blue, because that will come in and create greens usually if I'm a little bit more controlled and careful. Plus, I don't mind the colours blending into one another. Okay. Now, some colours are much stronger than others, so I do know that I will need to really clean my brush. But the greens are greens. They can cross-contaminate. So this is actually a bit of shadow, so let's create that. Also, these colours aren't completely flat. They do have some kinks in them where the fabric isn't completely taut. So again, by not having a completely flat colour on here, that will suggest shading and wrinkles. Use that dark. Okay. So I'm not actually adding any more pigment to the brush, just using it like a pastel blending tool, to be honest. Go. Bit too much. I should have a tissue in my hand instead of just using my hand. Okay. Move this colour over here. It's taken me a while to become comfortable with oils because of the cross-contamination. So I like to work quickly, and one colour kept smudging into another, and instead of a yellow you got a green. Oh look, Gary, you didn't tell me I missed a piece there.
I would have just spied it myself.
Well, we'll just add a colour. You were on Colour Watch.
Sorry.
That's all right. We can fix it.
Pink, stick some pink in.
Yeah, let's really put a random colour in. I'm smudged on my greens, I think so. Ooh, what colour? I don't know. Let's pick up a colour. Like I say, no one's actually watching you and saying, that isn't exactly right. It's your painting. You can do any colour. I could have done a bright pink, but I haven't got any pink on there, so I'll just pick up some of the yellow.
Nobody in the chat
No.
mentioned it either. Nobody spotted
No,
it.
let's see, you're all supposed to be looking on Colour Watch, but no one was. It's fine, fixed it, no problem. No, all done.
Amy says I'm fired.
Yes, from colour watching duties anyway. He does do a very good job in editing the videos and replying to you in the chat. I bet you've been asked some questions and you've been able to answer them.
1 or 2.
Yes. And like I said, it's taken me a while to really get comfortable with this. I used to get frustrated. But you just go with the medium. Right. You're now on colour smudge duty. Is there any areas that aren't? I know I haven't done blues yet, so if anyone can see.
I can see some orange. The third one down.
There.
Right hand side.
You know I don't mean. Right, that's fine. There, yeah, I haven't done that yet.
What? You said you wanted blues, and had you
Yeah.
missed any?
Well, I might have missed that. Okay. Yes, okay, I'll do that now, because there's some here I was doing as well. You can see how that's tied it all together, and I'm not put any more pigment on. All I'm doing is smudging. Right, there. You're right. I completely forgot that one. There's a lot of colour. It's getting a bit colour blind. Getting close to putting the detail on. That's a fun bit because it then draws it all together. And I'll show you a tip for how I found the best way to create light. Blues next, and then I'll show you a way to create light. So there isn't a huge amount of light on this. There are some areas which I want to create a little bit more light. So some of these are a lot lighter. And at first I tried using white. Now white works in some levels, but it also didn't work on other levels. So I'll show you how I found a really good way to make use of the oil paints. And create light. One done. Smudge in here. Done there. Bit of smudging. I suppose there is a technical term. I'm just calling it smudging. Or blending, I suppose. Bit of blending there, bit of reshaping. Okay. A bit here. So I've already started that one. Okay. Blend that in. Now this phthalo green is a very strong colour, so it is difficult not to cross-contaminate from the blue. But let's go back over it. Yeah. Am I blue smudged? Pretty much, I think.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just-
Yeah, down at the bottom there.
Okay. Oh, I can see some yellow smudging here. Look. Oops. So you can see that green, how it does tend to contaminate a little bit. Not a big deal. So if I am really bothered with that, I will load. It is quite difficult. So, you know, with an acrylic, what you do is you let it dry and then put another layer on. With the oils, because oils take days, weeks to dry, depending on the colour, it is actually quite difficult. So what I'll do is, and again, just put a colour on decisively and not smudge it too much. That hopefully will be able to cover your contamination. Right. I feel quite blended.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I was saying about light, on the original, I can see this area here. These are quite light. So you can add white, but I found that just flattens and makes it look more opaque. Now, these are quite transparent fabrics. And the best way I found to make it look lighter was actually to take away the colour and use the white of the canvas underneath, rather than adding another paint on top. You can see that yellow suddenly getting much brighter. And here, you do have to scrub it a little bit. All I'm doing is removing the pigment. And I found that was a much better way for me. You may find other ways of actually making the light come through. It will also depend on the pigment. See, that works. That I've just shown you really well there. Oh, green, green. Luckily, I was taking it away. That's because I need a clean kitchen bowl. So I was actually taking this away, so that's good. I just found this was a much better way of making it look a little bit more transparent than adding colour. So let's go under here. Not using anything apart from water and taking it away. Don't want to do it all because some of it is in shade. That's quite shadowed because they are also being shaded by the buildings. It's quite light there. So if I can try and get a little bit of tonal value. Definitely here goes a lot lighter. I'll try there as well. Oh, that green is getting everywhere. So I might actually, as I'm doing this, is darken that a bit. And let's see if I can just do some bit of okay. Ooh, bit of detailing now. And probably another 15 minutes and I will have this all finished. So let's go round and mix up some black or a blacky brown, whatever colour. This is where I tend to use up the colours on my palette, because I can mix a dark browny black from the colours I have, bit of green. Right. So umbrella comes, where does it stop? Here. Let's go up then. Bit of red. Just using my hand and my left hand as a kind of a rest. You may see someone use a maul stick, or people use a block of wood. Firstly, it's keeping the hand away from the wet paint as I'm working downwards. But it's also steadying my hand. And there, it comes up there. Okay, and here. Pretty much, so from an umbrella, you do it from the middle. How far down do I need to go on this one? To about there. And this one, say, which way round? Another one that goes that way. Come down the middle. Twisting the brush on the palette in order to try and keep a point as much as possible. Right, this one, that's facing that way. I can see one down there, and just a little. Oh, this is going to go. It needs to go through, doesn't it? Through there. And this one is pretty much, forget that bit and that bit. bit. I think I need a little bit more blue. Because that blue and brown make an excellent dark colour. Might add a little bit of red because I don't want it solid black. Right. Which way do you go? So you come down and you don't see much of it. Okay. Right, let's get a bit of light and a bit more colour. It needs to be strong at the top. So I'm using a size 0 brush. Which is not overly tiny in the acrylic range, but it's enough that it's given me a chance to get a fairly straight line. Also, I quite liked this, and it is actually important, you'll see why. There's a pole just here. Turn the brush in the paint. It's fairly straight, it'll do. Because it allows you to attach the wire to this pole. So that is coming off there, and it goes across there. I would never have been able to get that fine quality from a brush. That's got to be attached to something, so that's actually attached here, that wall there. So I haven't finished the umbrellas yet. I've still got to come back and just add a bit more strength there, but while I've got dark colour on my brush, right, now for some final little touches. So with a umbrella, they actually have, I want this very wet. This is where I'm going to use it wet. They actually have, what do these called? It's the framework, isn't it?
Yes.
That supports the...
Hold on, see what Google says.
Oops, that's not straight. So just adding this detail ties it all together.
Ribs.
Ribs, good word. So the ribs, they're stronger underneath because you can see them. Just kind of dotted them around. And if I've got a light colour on, I also can do a bit of glazing. Glazing is when you use a very thin mix and you can just add a bit more shadow. Where's that purple gone? Definitely under here where it seems to be. Darker, just under these edges here. Oops, that's red. Don't matter. Just the purpose of a glaze is to add a layer of colour without hiding the colour underneath. See, that's now just given that a curve just here. Might make that a bit stronger. Carry on with the ribs while I'm thinking about it as well. Not so strong here. And they're much stronger underneath because that's where the ribbon is. I do have the little ends coming out here, so you can do underneath a little bit stronger. And then just suggest the ends there. Oh, I missed a handle. That's easy. Done. Just goes down there. Done. I was ribbing, so I want to put a little bit of white on the ends, some of these. Roll my brush, dry it off, roll it, just so I get a point. And let's just adds that extra bit of detail. Right, I think I'm pretty much there for what I needed. Straighten that line. I find the edge of the knife is really good for straightening. And I might just, because that's quite flat in the background, I might just really use what I've got on my and lighten it. It pushes this building forward. Okay. I would expect to have more white left on my palette. because I will use quite a lot, so let's just put colour on there and drop it down. Just right across that edge there, window. Let's put a getting near the end. Kind of forget which edge I've put a white on. There we go. That's strengthen that. Again here. And along this edge. Straighten it up there. Let's just a bit of detail. Doesn't have to be totally descriptive. Okay, I think I'm done. Else I will keep. It's really easy to keep going, but hope you get the idea. So showing you a lot of mess and using the water-mixable oils. So water-mixable oils are oil paints and they dry the same way as an oil paint. So it should be touch dry within about a week, but to be fully dried and finished and varnished, you need 6 months to 12 months for it to dry. I might not necessarily varnish this, but it is worth considering. So doing it all in one, you don't often get much sinking in because you've not got lots of layers. But I think it dries to a bit more of a matte finish. And if you want to intensify the colours and really bring out shine, varnishing is a really nice way to finish a painting, especially if it's going to be displayed. So I do varnish things, and I just want to show you. This is old, but it really does show the difference between not varnishing and varnishing. Can you see that? You can see the varnished side, you can see the non-varnished side, but it also intensifies the colour. Are you getting that, Gary?
Yeah, see that.
So once you put the varnish on, the colours suddenly become really powerful. This is a gloss varnish. I prefer a gloss varnish. A matte varnish will intensify colours, but not as strongly as a gloss varnish. So choose your varnish, practice, lots of practice before you put it on. But I think it is a really nice way to finish off your painting. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching, and join me next week on Valentine's Day, February the 14th, for a Facebook premiere. So it's pre-recorded, but I will be in the chat to answer any questions or just to say hi. So I hope you enjoyed that, and join me again soon.